to another episode of Influence and Growth Mastery. Today, I have Shoshanna Richek with You Deserve to Know to talk about her passion for longevity, for mental, spiritual, physical, emotional, and nutritional holistic health. If you're listening right now and you have not already subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? Do it right now. Shoshanna, it is a pleasure to have you here with me today. I'm so excited to get into this conversation. You and I have visited a little bit before today, and the topic that we're going to be discussing, I think, is so interesting, and I think that the community is going to enjoy it as well. And so, first of all, I want to say welcome. I'm so glad you're here with me. And as we get into this, can you start, number one, by sharing a little bit about yourself and your journey with body image and the challenges that you personally have faced?
Sure. Well, thank you, Tanya, and thank you for inviting me. It's so nice getting to know you and learning about you and what you do for other people to help them succeed. And I'm grateful that you included me in your podcast show. Thank you. So I am originally from the Boston area, Massachusetts, and have lived in Spain and California, Connecticut. I am currently in Charleston, South Carolina for the last 26 years. So I am interested definitely in other cultures. I speak Spanish. These are just some things. I love gardening. And the one thing that plagued me from about the age of 8 was this compulsive overeating that came from an emotional trigger. And so I was, even back then, at my age in the game, even back then, body image mattered. There were advertisements. There were people that were heavier, people that were not, people that were better in sports, people that were not. So that repeats itself probably every generation. And I was just really aware of my body size and never hugely fat or grossly overweight, but certainly not comfortable. And I think that one of the things that happens when people aren't comfortable and they know, there's a knowingness when you're eating out of an emotional thing until it becomes in your subconscious and it's a habit. But in the beginning stages, you have an issue and you're being driven somewhere that doesn't feel so good, that doesn't make you feel good. And I think that alone is a difficult place for people to be until they get used to it and they become sort of numb to it. So mine started at about 8 years old, and it took me into my teens where then I thinned way out. I was doing a lot of like tennis and running and doing other things, but that was my way of being bulimic. I wasn't necessarily throwing up. There were different forms of bulimia. I was very aware of compulsively overeating, and I was very aware of needing to burn it off. And that is like this drive. Anybody that can relate to me, they know there's this thing that's inside that says, oh my God, you better burn that off. So then I became thin and then, into college, but I still had the problem. So that's the problem. When somebody has the problem, they know they have the problem, and it doesn't matter what they look like. And I could go way deeper and say, just like when somebody's suicidal, I know this is way deep, but you don't always know when somebody's having a problem. I just want to make my point. So the overeating, the compulsive overeating, forms of bulimia or anorexia or whatever they are, it is an internal issue that people suffer. And I eventually, so the bulimia part of it just was really disconcerting. I was very concerned about myself. I was concerned about my overall well-being. Now, mind you, of course, I was aware of exercise. Of course, I was aware of what I was eating. So it's not like I was raised in a home where we ate a lot of very heavy foods or where I wasn't aware. I was aware. I was raised in a healthy home and my parents were fit. So I was aware of these things. And as a side note, I was always more flexible than strong. So that's just a side note, just, food for thought, but had nothing to do with my issues.
Yeah.
And everybody's got their thing. So because of all of this, in one way I was lucky because I understood like how I could be and wanted to be. I had that understanding. I also understood that the way my behaviors were not helpful. So in about my 20s, when I had moved to California, I will say that when I lived in Spain, it was a year abroad. I'm fluent in Spanish still, proud to say that. But during the siesta, when people would be relaxing, literally, I was on the street because the pasteleria was still open. And that's where they have cookies and cakes and all those things. And I would buy a kilo or so of cookies, and I would walk around the city eating my cookies. So, it's an illness. And definitely a sugar addict. So, anybody who's a compulsive overeater, they probably have their favorite thing to go to. Mine was the sweets. And
yours was what? I'm sorry, I missed that. Yours was cookies. Is that what you said?
Mine was cookies. So everybody has their go-to foods, and mine was sweets. The more sugar, the better. And at that time, living in Spain, it was the cookies. And the Spanish word was galletas. So I would go buy kilos or a kilo here and there. I mean, maybe not every day, but I definitely did it. I was very aware of what I was doing. I wasn't just going for a walk. I'll back up a minute. In 6th grade, because I was so aware of my body image, I was 11 years old. My neighbor, a woman next door, I guess my mother's friend, so that age group, she was going to Weight Watchers. So I went to Weight Watchers for probably, I have no idea how long, 6 months or a year, learned a lot. It didn't cure me, but it educated me. So then I really knew which foods were going to be healthier, not healthier. Not that it helped with my illness, but it helped with my education. In my 20s, I actually went to Overeaters Anonymous, thinking that maybe that was something. And I did learn a lot there, and that was helpful too. The good news is that the bulimia eventually went away in my 20s. But then into all my other years up to my early 50s, I still was having this driving behavior toward food. I mean, I would go to an event, whether it be a wedding, a bar bat mitzvah, whatever I was at, a party, and my brain was focused on what was the food going to be. And when I saw the food, was there going to be enough for me to have what I wanted? It's an illness. So wow. I share it like this because, again, anybody who's had it knows if you're watching this and you haven't had it like that, that's fantastic. That means it's going to be a little bit easier for you to change. But when you've got this illness, it's driven in. It's like in your DNA. It's in your neural pathways that this is your go-to. This is what you do. And it was at this time in my early 50s, I was making some changes in my life, and I was listening to this woman speaking. And she shared a subconscious hack. And I learned how to go in and find what was my issue that was driving me to do all this, and how do I replace it with something that would be empowering. I figured it out, and within that, like months, I dropped my last 14 pounds. It's been 10 years. I never put it back on. And this is why I decided to develop the program that I offer now, extremely affordable, I might add, because I'm at a place in life where I'm not looking to make $1 million. I really want to help people get rid of these crazy things that drive them and keep them from being satisfied and fully happy in their lives. I want people to feel the way I feel now. So that's the big picture.
So then would you say that meeting that woman was the turning point of your compulsive overeating?
Yeah. And the crazy part was it was a conference I attended. I didn't even really know what was going to be covered. It was in my community, and I was, involved in my community. So I just attended, and here was this woman talking about her program that she helps people with their subconscious. And, my main trigger was feeling tired. When I feel tired, I tend to eat more because I think I don't know how to slow down, but overeating slows you down. So it was like a way to medicate myself, that I filled myself up to a point of probably Lord knows what, but it slowed me down and it helped me relax. So that was my way. Of course, I learned other ways, but most importantly was when I was sitting in that session and I was internalizing what she was doing so it would work for me. Wow. It just created an awareness. I didn't go for that purpose. It wasn't like I went to be hypnotized or anything like that, but I was able to internalize what she was sharing and started using it for myself and learned that, wow, when I'm tired, I eat a lot and that's driving this behavior. Or, sometimes I feel lonely and that's making me feel sad. But I learned how to replace emotions that weren't serving me well with empowering emotions. And then I furthered my studies into that and I became extremely interested in neurolinguistics and neuropathways and different modalities because everybody's not going to respond to just one the way I responded to that one. So I know like 24 ways of working with people to help them now find what's their thing. So yes, to answer your question in the short, yes. And I'm sure there are other questions, so I won't get ahead of myself, but
yeah,
it totally changed my life.
That's amazing because, I think about, and you were talking earlier on, talking about, the journey with the body image. And I think about how when most of us, I'm not going to say everybody, because there are a lot of people who are overweight and they're happy in their body image being overweight. I personally was not. I've lost about 30 pounds since January, and I feel so much better with the 30 pounds off. With the appearance of the pounds being off, I feel healthier. I don't feel as tired. I'm not stress eating like I was stress eating, but I found myself not doing things that I should do or that I wanted to do because of my appearance. And so I say that too, to say, I know that people, and whether you want to speak to this or if this is in your field or not, but I know that people that have even been traumatized eat more, and they use that as a guard so that they don't go back into that situation, or so that men don't come towards them. It's a shield. It's a guard. It's a shield. And so it's a mechanism to deal with the problem even that they have. And you mentioned going to weddings or to retreats or to other places to eat what's available. I had to kind of laugh inside from a standpoint of, not that it was funny, but it brought a memory to my mind of, I can be at a retreat or on vacation with somebody before, and we would just eat breakfast, and then we would say, what great thing are we going to have for lunch? Or what are we going to have for supper? Because you're anticipating that great next meal because you want to eat. And so I found myself doing that when I was heavier. I don't find myself doing that now. It's like, I'm not looking forward to that next meal because I'm not wanting to eat the next meal. And I just told my mom this weekend, she asked me if I wanted something sweet. I can't remember what it was. And I was like, no, actually, where I used to love sweets and I was craving them constantly, I'm like, sometimes just the sound. Oh, my sister made a pecan pie and she put it on my Facebook wall. And my mom was saying, man, that pecan pie looks so delicious. And I was like, well, it did, but it didn't. Because, sometimes the sound of something like that just doesn't intrigue me anymore. And I'm relating to some of the things that you're saying before, and now I'm relating to some of the things that you're saying now.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking I've triggered something in my brain that says, and I remember praying, God, take the sweet taste that I have craved all these years. Please take it away from me. I don't want that anymore, because I knew that was a lot of my problem.
And that's, a lot of where that happens because you make a choice and you made a choice. You said, I don't like the way I feel from this, whether it's physically, mentally, one way or another, or it's not helping me achieve my goals, but it mattered so much to you that that's the switch for you. And so many people, it's really hard for them to get there. You're fortunate that you figured it out.
Yeah, I mean, I have tried weight loss so many times, so many. Put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off. And I'm in this position in my entrepreneur world to where it means a lot to me to have this personal brand and this business brand. That persona is a lot to me, and my overall look. I'm going through this phase of create your own Barbie, not because of the Barbie movie, because I was not impressed by the Barbie movie at all. And I had started thinking that before, but there is an image that I want to put on by my brand. And that, I think it was the trigger, and the image that I was projecting was not the image that I wanted to portray. And go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just going to respond earlier before it gets too far away, because I didn't want to break in, because I'm enjoying listening to your own journey. You had mentioned that, maybe there are some people who are heavy that are happy being heavy.
Yes. Go towards that.
I honestly believe that nobody is happy being overweight. They don't move as well. They don't feel as well. They don't like the way they compare to others, but it is a coping mechanism for a lot of things. And they say they're happy and they want to believe they're happy. And that's what's interesting about the brain. The brain will believe whatever you tell it to believe. So if I tell myself I'm happy being heavy, whatever that is, my brain's going to believe it. But I believe deep down, in the total health of things, people really aren't. And somebody might write me something back and say, you're wrong, but I would challenge them to look deep down and, the reality of living a longer, healthier life without physical ailments. And maybe in your 20s and 30s, it's not so bad and it's fun and it's good. But come 40, 50, 60 or 70, it's very difficult. And a lot of diseases happen then. And until you get them, you don't know what they are. And then to be faced with the whole weight loss issue, then everything's harder the older we get. So I just sort of wanted to throw that in there. And I know I'm taking a big chance by saying what I believe, but it's a strong belief because I have known way too many people over the years, and I really have not met one person who said, I'm happy like this. I think I know there have been people who have said, I'm okay with myself being like this. I accept myself like this. I love myself and I accept myself. But that's not the same to say I am happy with how I am right now. And I believe
there's a lot of truth to what you're saying. I believe they say they are, and they want to believe that they are, but there's a deep down. If we went through the layers, we would find that truly they're not. And I think that goes to what I said at the beginning of the podcast. And it's where you're so passionate about, the mental part, the spiritual part, the physical part, the emotional part, and the holistic health part. Because you and I both know that if you don't take care of those things, there's a price to pay later on.
Yeah.
If you don't take care of those things. And so I'd love for you to talk about the transformational approach to what can happen once you make that switch in your brain to live for the better.
Sure.
To live towards the better part once you make that transformational switch. You met that woman who helped you go through that transformation. What happened after that?
So it was instinctive. And this is what I love about working with the subconscious. It's autopilot. So your subconscious is supposed to drive your routines, and your brain is supposed to be available for the things that you need to think about on the fly. So whatever you're doing day to day, without thinking about it much, habits and things, neuropathways, they're all in your subconscious. So when somebody learns what to break these coping mechanisms and neuropathways, create new ones, they've made a new choice. And I just want to share a little bit. And so you asked me about my own journey. So, okay, let me go back. Sorry, I was kind of going off topic. So my own journey, because of that switch, I just almost like I woke up and I said, okay, I'm going to eat what I want for breakfast. I'm going to have this particular shake. I found a brand that works for me, and I'm going to do this shake at lunchtime. And then what was really interesting, I got a little bit hungry midday, like 3-4 o'clock, but I didn't really want to eat yet. I still had kids at home and I cooked dinners and things. And I literally would rub my belly and say, it's okay to feel hungry. It's okay to feel hungry. And it was new to me. And I think a lot of people who overeat, we don't allow ourselves to feel hungry because that's another whole issue. So I literally it was instinctive though. Nobody trained me to do this. So now I know to let people know when they say, hey, I'm feeling a little hungry. It's not because we want to starve anybody, but we do need to allow our bodies to burn what's there and feel a little bit hungry so that we're nourishing ourselves. We're not stuffing ourselves. There's a difference. And it's not a hunger that's bad, or you can have snacks. I mean, the way I work with people, no food is off limits. Some you want to manage, right? Because they're not as healthy for us than others, but there's nothing off limits. I eat whatever I want to eat any day of the week. And then there are some foods that are just more helpful to achieve our goals. So we work on that. But having that empty stomach for a little bit, and then I made dinner, and I found that actually helped me shrink my stomach. So a little bit of hungry and then eating, I was like, woo, that filled me up fast, I wasn't used to that. And I wasn't starving or anything. And I wasn't, because I tend to be hypoglycemic when I don't eat. But when you have enough protein, even if you're a little hungry, you're not like getting flighty or feeling edgy or any of those other crazy feelings. So I just worked myself into this food program, and in 6 weeks, I lost 14 pounds, like nothing. It just came off. And it was over 10 years ago. I never put it back on. I just grew this awareness about my body and how I want to feel and what foods are better for me. And sometimes I gain a pound or two. Sometimes, since my fiance's birthday, we've been kind of overeating a little bit, but it's manageable. And then all of a sudden I'm gardening and I don't feel as good the way my body feels. I'm not concerned about it. I'm not worried. That struggle is gone. You were talking about different diets. The struggle's gone. There is no struggle. It's an awareness. It's like, gosh, I don't really like the way I'm bending and feeling. I'm I think I'm going to go back to a plan again and get off those 2 pounds because I know I felt better when I didn't have those 2 pounds. And that's pretty much how I go now. And I find it amazing. Every day it's amazing. I am amazed that this is now my life. And then I've been helping people. And I've been helping people, some people, it's sleep. Sleep. If you don't sleep enough, of course you're going to overeat. Your body's lacking something. And if you're not so aware, you don't know what it is. So you feed it the same way when I was tired, you feed it. But when you learn to address the area that's affecting your weight gain, then that awareness is magical and things just start to change. So does that help? Did that answer your question?
Yes, it does. And so I have a question, and this may be off topic. And if it is, tell me. This is because you mentioned shrinking the stomach. And then I think about, eating the extra. The thing that came to my mind is people say, oh, well, we're going to go on a cruise and everybody gains 10 pounds on a cruise, but I'll lose it when I get back. But it seems like to me, once you stretch that stomach out again, it's hard to get it to come back. And so is it a good thing to eat those much smaller meals, to shrink that stomach, to get it used to eating smaller meals so that you can eat small meals, eat them more often? I don't know what the right way is, but to shrink that stomach so that you don't overeat. I know like right now, if I eat way too much, I'm just like, ugh, I feel terrible. Just like eating the dessert, I feel terrible. So, I try to stop before I do overeat because I don't like the way I feel. But what about the stretching of the stomach and then making it smaller? What is that doing to us? Is that something you can?
I'm not a doctor, so I can only talk from personal experience and helping others. And I read a lot, and I'm really big into functional medicine. So Western medicine has its place, but I'm more into functional medicine through nutrition. And the way, and I really focus on how you feel. And there is no right way and there's no wrong way. It depends on the individual. So I focus on that as well. But I will say those cruises, I've been on a couple, when you get into like this great place of knowing your body, you just don't want to do that to yourself. Yeah. And the hard part is when you do, like even these last 2 weeks for me, my 2 pounds, which is nothing to the majority of the world. To me, it's nothing that worries me, but it's my stopping point. I reached my limit. I went my 2 over. It's my stopping point. So you develop new thresholds, and it's deep, and it's in your subconscious. It's from a belief. It's from being aware of yourself. But to your point, when people do go off the rail, and let's say they do the 10 pounds, the bigger problem with that is the habits. The bigger problem is saying, I don't give a hoot anymore. I'm going off the rail and blah, 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 blah. And then you come home. And it's like anything. If you're used to exercising and you skip a week and you come back to it, then it's a little bit harder to get going again.
It's way hard for me. Yeah.
If you mess up on a meal or a day or even a couple of events, like you go to a wedding for a weekend, have fun. Geez, have fun. But know that when you come home, you have a plan. So the cruise thing, the 10 pounds, I'm sure it can happen. It's important then if it happens, I don't think it's the end of the world. I think you just tune back in. Where was I? How was I feeling? Where do I want to be? Maybe I'll call Shoshanna again and get a little tune up, or maybe I'll just go to my notes and figure it out. But once you develop neural pathways, let me just share, this is absolutely my passion on neural pathways. When you think about neural pathways, I said it a lot, and now I want to explain it. When you take a walk through a trail, you're in the woods, you're on a trail, and so many people have walked on it. and it's all padded down and beautiful and everybody can find it. It's really easy. It's a great journey. It's all groomed. It's a groomed trail for you, right? That's a neural pathway. That's the way you're functioning. That is your subconscious, path for that particular activity. You can change that and you start chopping down trees to make a new pathway. It's not so easy. You're walking on area that hasn't been flattened yet. Not so easy, right? But over time, you do more and more of it, you create that new pathway, then the grass starts growing up over the old pathway and it becomes like a forest, and your brain won't go back there again. Your subconscious won't go there. Your subconscious found a new pathway. So even if you have enough time on the new pathway, and even if you go on a cruise, let's use that example, and have a blast for a whole week and way overeat and your clothes are all tight, you have a new pathway. You went to some old habits, you went to some old behaviors, but you do have a new pathway, and it's not as hard to come back if you didn't. So I think that's the longer answer to, there are lots of ways that could go. Depends on your time on the journey. It depends how much effort you put into your new pathway, how long you've been away from the old one. A lot of that comes into play.
Yeah, I love that. I know, going back to my own example for the summer, going on vacation, I couldn't allow myself to eat off of program day after day after day for that fear of, I just kept saying, I work so hard. And because I knew what had happened before. I got off of the wagon and I put it all back on.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that to happen again. So I was like, I can't. You guys go ahead and enjoy whatever it was, the ice cream or whatever, but I'm not going to eat any. I just worked too hard. And the goal was too important to me to get off rail.
And
so
you've said some really key words too, that you made some choices and you didn't like the way you felt. Didn't like the way you felt. So, if I do it, it might be fun, but I'm not going to like the way I feel. So it's not worth it to me. It's not worth it to me to just join the crowd and do what they're doing to do it. And I won't be happy inside. So you have flipped the switch, and that's great. Really?
I remember too many times of giving in and then immediately saying, I wished I hadn't have done that. My favorite used to be a Sonic Butterfinger Blast. And I would eat it and then say, oh, I wished I had not have done that. Oh, And so that path or that memory, it stays fairly close as to how I feel when I do it. So actually, I'm kind of glad that thought is just right there so that it keeps me in check. But, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, when I work with people, I don't want them to feel like, I wish I hadn't have done that. I regret it. It's remorse. No. There's a great book. I'm going to share this book. It's called Mindful Self-Discipline by Giovanni Deitzman. And maybe you've read it, but it's
no, but I'm going to write it down. Mindful
Self-Discipline by Giovanni Deitzman. And I think it was a fabulous book. And the golden nugget I walked away with is that we all make plans. We all have goals. And you're going to go off track. We're human beings. And that's the only part of being human that I don't like. That we're not computerized. We're not like this. We're going to mess up. We're going to do things that aren't great sometimes.
Right.
And he teaches in his book, don't be mad. Don't be sad. Don't get this. Don't drive yourself about it. Just say, okay, be aware. Hey,
just get back up.
I didn't like the way it felt. It's not the way I want to be. And next time, I'm going to go the other route.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you can do. That's what we can do we don't have to. This is, it's the struggle. The struggle because I had it, you had it, so many people have had it. We don't want people to feel the struggle. We don't want them to feel pain over this. We want them to feel like, okay, I'm in control. I'm working on it. Maybe, 70% the time I'm doing good and 30% I'm messing up. I like to put people on the 80-20 rule. If you can do well 80% of the time and 20% just say, I am living my best life and I'm going to have fun. If you do that, anybody does that, I think they're going to be fine. It's not like you make these deals that you're like 100% of the time and, that rigid. I don't like that.
No, I don't either. And actually, the best scenario is to feeling like you won and you're in control over the situation, the mindset, not remembering the struggle, but remembering the win, that you made the decision. That should be the ultimate goal of, yes, I made the decision not to eat that Butterfinger Blast, and I feel great about it.
Yes.
That should be the mindset. And from this day forward, I'm making the commitment in this podcast that going forward, that's the commitment and the decision that I'm going to have about what I eat, not trying to remember the feel that I had after eating it, is that I'm in control. And from that switch that I had, that I'm now in control of those decisions, and it's a win-win going forward. I like that much better.
Yeah.
And that's so good. That's so good.
Into neurolinguistics. So and I know you know a lot about this because I know you're a superpower woman, but in neurolinguistics, for anybody who's not so familiar with it, the more we can use empowering words and affirmative words and stay away from words that are negative. And you can look up, even Google search. It's not there are word searches, but also emotional searches of higher levels of higher frequency beliefs and feelings and thoughts and words, and lower frequency. So the goal is to stay on the higher frequency. And I do my best to use that higher frequency when I do anything. So when I educate people and help them change, it's exactly right. We want them to focus on the positives and the affirmations of not creating affirmations, although those are good too, but literally affirming what they're doing and thinking of it in an affirmative. Excellent. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yes, I love that. Well, and I'm such a positive individual anyway, and I do affirmations. I say affirmations daily.
Yeah.
And, and seeing myself thinner now, and not focusing on what I looked like before, and celebrating those wins, and everybody should celebrate those wins. But I think having that mindset of making that switch and getting to that switch, into our heads is so important. And just like you said, we all know or should know that the things that we put in our mind, the things that we put in our body, if they're not good, if they're not good thoughts, good things aren't going to happen. If we put bad things in our mouth and in our body, they're going to impact our body longer term. And so, we want to focus, or should want to focus, on longer life, good health, not to have sickness and disease. And so what is it that keeps us from having those things? And like you said, you found someone that helped you make that switch.
Yes.
And we all want to make those switches. There's certain foods that I don't eat today because I learned what those foods can do to you longer term. There's certain substances that I don't put into my body because I've learned what those things can do to your body. Sure. So there's that flip, that switch, those things that we need to have happen. And you are an expert in helping people, through those things. And so, I think that what you do is phenomenal. So in the context of longevity, I would like for you to speak just a little bit more on how empowering our minds does directly influence our physical health and well-being.
Sure. There have been a lot of studies on this, even with cancer patients, that, they talk about mindset affects how you may or may not heal. I actually am a cancer survivor. And a doctor gave me a pill to help my bone health from osteoporosis and osteopenia. And 6 months later, I developed endometrial cancer. And it was a product of that pill because blood tests later showed my issue wasn't genetic, it was environmental. And then, of course, I had to have the whole surgery. But the mindset part of it is that all the while I was calm. I said, well, I know exactly how it happened. I did the math. I asked them, how old is this cancer in my body? It was like right around the time that pill started. So I know exactly how I got it. And it was young enough, and I was very well aware. And just a special note of caution to anybody with any physical illness, always get a second opinion. My doctor told me I definitely didn't have cancer and that I was having whatever she was explaining, which we don't need to talk about here. But I found another doctor, and not to prove her wrong, but I needed to make sure. And so all the while, when it comes to mindset, I said to myself, well, this is going to take care of me. And if something else I need, I'll do what I need. But I know overall I'm healthy, and it was something that got in my body. Now, not everybody can say that every time, but I know for a fact that peace of mind that I had because of my mindset carried me through with, I think I'm really lucky. I don't overreact to things. So everybody's different. Mm-hmm. But the whole mind power and empowering your mind, you have to get in the habit of doing it. So it's a process. When you brought up, and I don't eat this thing anymore, and I don't eat that thing anymore. Oh, and by the way, I stopped doing this. Oh, and I stopped. You didn't do it all in one day. It was because of your awareness that you became aware of how you were feeling, so that then you could say, oh, wait a minute, I feel this way. And what did I just do? No, I don't want that anymore. Or, I read that this could do that until I find out that it doesn't. I think I'm going to stay away from that because I'm doing so good in these other areas of my life. So the more aware we become of our wellness and we focus on our wellness, and I love what you said too, you see yourself differently. Whether you were or not at the time, you see it. And that is a big part of it, envisioning and vision boards and anything that you can do. Because again, the mind only believes what you tell it. You could tell your mind anything and it will believe it. And you can look at cults. You can look at all kinds of things and prove that this is true. And you can prove like miracles because of the power of the mind. The mind is more powerful than anything on the planet right now. Mm-hmm. And to the point, I just want to go to the gut. Your gut is connected to your brain by the vagus nerve. If your mind is healthy, it sends healthy signals to your gut, and your gut is healthy. Your gut is your second brain now, scientifically proven. So, 70% of your immune system is in your gut. So if you're not taking good care of your gut because of the way you're eating, you're not going to be so well. And those neurotransmitters go straight up the vagus nerve into your mind and affect your brain. They're now saying that Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, these things, they're like a type 3 diabetes. They're now saying it's a form of diabetes. They're relating it. So again, you're talking about mind power. I'm trying to stay in context, but I want to bring it to more of the body to give you this holistic idea that whatever is happening up here is feeding to your gut area. And if your gut area is unhealthy, you know, when sometimes something happens and all of a sudden you just feel sick to your stomach because of an emotional something, that's this nerve affecting your gut because of your mind. So I just wanted to share that because it's more than just what you believe. It's how you take care of yourself. And that's why I do look at the holistic picture and the empowering the mind, empowering and emotions. Because when I work with the subconscious, we're looking at a lot of emotions and they all serve us to some degree. You were saying earlier how sometimes people overeat to guard themselves. Well, sometimes people have emotions that are painful, but they are serving us in a way to protect us or something like that. It depends on what it is and who it is. But what we do is we communicate with that emotion when I work with people. And it's one session. It's pretty amazing. And we communicate with that emotion and we get permission to move it and bring in an emotion or a behavior that's going to help somebody and empower them to reach where they want to be. But I just want to wind up this little talk with you saw yourself thinner. I just want to bring it back full circle. You saw yourself, you envisioned it. So what's really cool is when you tell your mind something, your subconscious will work to make that happen. It's like, oh, she sees this. Oh, I don't know. How do we get there? Oh, let me see. Or I know a little bit about your background too. I know how you became successful because you shared these things with me. And you set your sight somewhere so strong. And you're really good at this, Tanya. You're really good at your visualization. And you set your sight. And the rest of you started catching up. I'm like, oh, how do we get to where she is? And that is how it works.
Yes.
So education is good. Awareness is good. Working on the subconscious is good. Visualization. There are so many components. And I do deal with visualization in my little giveaway book too.
I'm fixing to mention your little giveaway book. And before I do, I just have to tell you this, because this just happened this morning. And as we talk about visualization, it's so important for people to grasp that. But sometimes when you talk to people, they think you're an alien. You know, they just don't get it. And you're like, if you would just believe and try, you will see, because it is so powerful. You can have anything that you want in this world if you would just get it. And so again, they just think you're alien. But when I started this weight loss journey, I had set those goals. I had set, a weight loss number goal. I had set a size goal, a small, medium, large goal. But then I also set a pant size goal.
Wow.
And I even started buying those sizes, even though I weren't in them yet, knowing I was going to get in them. And, that's risky because today clothes aren't cheap.
And the prices aren't what they used to be.
That is true. That is true. And I have a clothing design that I love to wear. And I had bought these jeans, and they're not cheap, but I bought these jeans a few weeks back, and I was like, I'm not prepared to wear these yet, but I will be. And I'm getting ready. I leave Wednesday to go to a mastermind. And I really wanted to wear those jeans to this mastermind.
Wow.
Well, I leave Wednesday and I thought I better be trying these jeans on, because if I'm not, I got to see what I got to do by Wednesday to get into these jeans. But I tried those jeans on this morning and they fit.
Oh my!
And I was like,
the
yes,
you're the epitome of this practice.
Yes. So, visualization is so powerful, but I have bought sundresses to take on a cruise for November. I have bought things literally sizes way too small to know that I'm going to get there. And this time I've always saved clothes that were way too big. I've had many, many, many sizes in my closet.
Okay.
My closet is so bare right now, and it was so packed I couldn't get anything in it. I literally, as I've outgrown, I've given them to a church. I've gotten rid of them this time because there is no going back. This time that visualization is there too. There is no going back. And so I say all that to say to my tribe, to my audience, and to the people that you share your podcast with, what Shoshanna has talked about is so powerful. And what I'm trying to tell you about visualization, it is so powerful. Your mind is the most powerful thing that you have on your body. It is so powerful, that in your heart. But I just want to tell you that she has a workbook that she gives away for free. And I want her to tell you right now how to get it and how to work through it. And then, Shoshanna, after that, tell the community how they can work with you, how they can get a hold of you and work with you once they get the book, and if they're interested in further conversations with you today.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tanya. Yeah, you are the epitome of, there's another great author who's really fun to be connected with, Mike Dooley, and he has something called Notes from the Universe. We had mentioned this, and he is like the master of visualization and doing like what you did. Buy the clothes, get the things, put them in your life. I actually, a few months ago, I wrote myself a fake check. There was a template for this, for $2,000 that I wanted to pay something off, and I didn't want to take it out of my savings. And I wrote this thing. I wanted it by the end of August. The money came to me before that, and I actually have the check right here. And I put it back in my drawer. I'm like, okay, that worked well. I just wanted that particular expense to not have an interest charge. So there are so many strategies. And let me share with you this book, because, the fun thing I think about working with me is this is my life. This is my world. And when you work with me, it's not limited to your body weight. We work with whatever knowledge I have that's going to help you reach your goals, whatever that is. And typically it's weight related because that's my specialty. But these same strategies can work for other parts of your life. And once you learn them, you can internalize them and work with them, just as I have. One thing we didn't talk about, and then I'll tell about the book, is I actually learned some of this before my 50s. It dawned on me at 42, I had been a smoker. And I had made a decision that I did not want to stink like tobacco anymore. And I did not want to buy them, and I didn't want to deal with it. And I didn't want the health risk. And I actually didn't know what I know now. It was more just an innate, like, I'm done with this. I am so done with this. And they say quitting smoking is the hardest thing in the world to do, harder than getting off of drugs, harder than overeating. I disagree. I think overeating is harder because food's everywhere. But so I quit smoking at 42 and never looked back. I will admit, though, that in the beginning, if I was craving a cigarette, if I walked by people who were smoking, I would just breathe in their smoke. All right, go to the book. Sorry, that was a side thing. But the book is, if you go to fliptheweightlossswitch.com flip.the.weightloss.switch.free. Okay, you can certainly go to fliptheweightloss.switch.com and get it, or you can /free. It's a little quicker path. But I have this workbook, and it has an introduction, a little bit about me. It has talking about your triggers, talks about clearing and food choices, listening to your body, all these things we've talked about today, the importance of exercise and even journaling, and how to schedule time with me. It's all in there. My phone number, my every way to get in touch with me. I also share a link to some childhood photos where you can see where I had been, that chubby kid, and you can see, how I am now and how I was. And, maybe you can relate to that. So that's the deal. That's the booklet. It's free. But what's cool is once you get the booklet, then you get a series of like 5 emails, because I really want you to book time with me, right? There's an appointment that's free for like 15 minutes. You can get a feel for me and see if we're going to connect. There's also an $89 appointment. I'm not ashamed to say it's $89. It's not $350. It's $89 to have a session that could change your life and at least be the tipping point to change your life. And then I make myself available after that. And that's all in the book. But the emails have more information. Like I share my favorite food lists. I share what else gets in the way of gaining weight. There are things, inflammation. I don't know if anybody knows this, but inflammation and free radicals are the leading causes of degeneration as we age. So inflammation also has an impact on weight gain. Toxic chemicals have an impact on weight gain. There's something called obesogens I talk about. You can look it up. You don't even need my book. I'm happy to share it because I want people to know about it. And then it also has, I did a meditation. I had to look at my notes here. I did a meditation for you that you get on day 5 of these emails with the alpha wavelength, so that your brain is in this really smooth place of like half asleep, and you listen to my suggestions, which you interpret to be you. I say it that I, which means you, when you listen to it, and helps you reach your goals. So the book, it's not even just the book. It's like all this other information, including information about nutrition that helps you reach your goals.
Love it. I love it. We will put that in the show notes as well.
Sure.
So where on, do you have any social media links that they can connect with you on?
So let's see, my name is Shoshanna Richek, and that'll be in the notes. And so you can find me. That's just on Instagram. I'm posting reels a lot and post a lot of nutritional posts mostly. And then on Facebook, I use my maiden name. It's just my personal page, and it's Shoshanna Wasserman Richek. But I think all those links are in the book and on my website too, so you can go there. Those are the 2 places socially where I'm most active. If you want to check out anything about my integrity, go to LinkedIn. That's been my work history. It's not really optimized for this personal part of my life, but it will be. But you can just see what people have said about me over the years. From my first management job, I actually have a review from that manager, all the way through the ranks and different people I've worked with. I've been an entrepreneur since 1989. And so there's a lot of information about me. I'm an open book. I have nothing to hide.
I love it.
Yeah.
Shoshanna, this was so, so, so good. And I appreciate you sharing today with my audience. And we will definitely put this information in the show notes. And for those of you that are listening, if you struggle with any of this that we've talked about today, be sure that you reach out and that you connect with her. She will be great to work with. And if you need anything from me, you know that I help entrepreneurs grow and monetize their visibility and influence without spending 24/7 doing it and creating overwhelm. And I do this by providing you a growth strategy blueprint and framework through private coaching. And soon, and very soon, we're going to have a group coaching program. Yay, yay, yay. And you can reach out to me through a DM on Facebook or Alignable if you're interested, and we'll see if we're a good fit to work together. Don't you dare disconnect from this podcast if you have not already hit subscribe on the podcast channel or YouTube. And until next week for another episode of Influence and Growth Mastery, we will see you soon. Bye.